And welcome.
Try this again. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to move all the little heads over out of the way. So, like Jewell just said, I am Jennifer Jewell here in Denver, Mensa. And tonight we're going to be talking about mindfulness. So I realize that not everyone necessarily knows my background and where I'm coming from. So I thought I'd give just a little bit of an overview of my education and experience. I have a bachelor's in psychology. I have an MSPH in epidemiology. My thesis had to do with postpartum depression. I am also a fourth year DRPH student in community and behavioral health. My focus for my dissertation is also related to postpartum depression, but I put my two most recent publications up here, which have to do with mental health during COVID-19. And they're pretty interesting reads, so go find them if you want, or I can send them to you. I have all the PDFs. So today, we're first going to look at a very short introductory video on mindfulness, and then we're going to talk about the state of the science of mindfulness. We're going to look at the Mindful Attention Awareness Scale, which is probably the most commonly used scale in assessing mindfulness. And then we're going to do a 5-minute mindfulness meditation breathing exercise. So I know the video is probably going to be a little jumpy, but the audio should be fine.
My name is John Kabat-Zinn. My working definition, or what I call operational definition of mindfulness, is it's the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And then I sometimes put in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. We all take ourselves too seriously because we believe that there is someone to take seriously. That me. We become the star of our own movie. The story of me, starring, of course, me. And everybody else becomes a bit player in our movie. And then we forget that it's a fabrication, it's a construction, and that it's not a movie, and that there's no you that you can actually find if you were to sort of start to peel back. Well, are you your name? Are you your age? Are you your thoughts? Are you your opinions? Are you even your genetic inheritance? Even your genes, if you meditate or eat differently, they're going to be expressed by the hundreds differently. So you're not even your genetic inheritance. So who are you? And here's where the rubber really meets the road.
Oh my gosh, can you unmute, Jennifer? I muted your video, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Selfing. How much of our time we are running the narrative of I, me, and mine, which is now being identified with certain regions of the brain that do that narrative default mode kind of thing. And then mindfulness, MBSR, has been shown to actually light up other areas, or more lateral areas, where there's no more story of me. It's just this breath, that out breath, and it's not me breathing either. If it was up to me to be breathing, I would have died a long time ago. Whoops, got distracted, forgot, dead.
Okay, I love that video. I think it's a great kind of introduction to what mindfulness is. Who you just saw was John Kabat-Zinn. He is, for the most part, responsible for bringing mindfulness as a psychological intervention to the West. I've put 3 definitions of mindfulness up here. His is in the middle. It's also what you just saw. It's the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And each of those phrases are key to how we conceptualize mindfulness. So mindfulness as a construct. What that means is awareness, openly attending to thoughts, being present, an acceptance of experience, and it is non-reactive. It is not letting your mind wander. It's not running on autopilot. It's not suppressing unwanted experiences, and it is not passive resignation. So let's look at an overview of the research that has occurred in mindfulness. This graph shows the non-cumulative plot of mindfulness randomized controlled trials between 1995 and 2015. And you can see that it has increased exponentially since the mid-90s. For the first 2 decades of mindfulness interventions, most were non-randomized pre and post-test designs, which are fine. They're just not as rigorous as they could be. So as we've moved forward in time, our studies of the interventions have gotten much more rigorous. And recent efforts have been spent on moving away from treatment as usual and waitlist controls towards active controls. And in terms of active controls, my favorite is one study in which the comparison group was sham mindfulness. Participants were periodically told to, quote, take a deep breath as we sit here in mindfulness meditation. And that's it. There was no other guidance. They were just told that every now and then. And not surprisingly, it did not provide the same pain relief benefits as genuine mindfulness meditation. So there are a great deal of interventions that use some form of mindfulness as a component. I picked the 2 most common and the 2 most longstanding intervention types. The first is mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR. This was developed by Jon Kabat-Zinn in the late 70s. The format consists of 8 weekly 2 to 2.5 hour group classes, also an audio guided home practice, and a day-long retreat. So it is a very intensive intervention, is also highly effective. If you're looking for more information on Jon Kabat-Zinn and how mindfulness, and specifically mindfulness-based stress reduction, work, his key book is Full Catastrophe Living, and I can put pictures of this up in the Facebook event as well if you want to look at these. But I mean, it's not light reading, but it's really good, and it sums up quite well how he has translated the Buddhist version of mindfulness into something that we use as a psychological intervention today. The second most common is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, or MBCT. This was developed by Siegel, Williams, and Teasdale after being inspired by Kabat-Zinn. So everything sort of circles back to Kabat-Zinn. They visited him numerous times. They sat through many mindfulness-based stress reduction classes. And after that, they developed a theoretical and conceptual model as to how you could apply mindfulness-based cognitive therapy to prevent depression relapse. That was their original focus. A key component to that was the concept of decentering. Decentering is taking a wider perspective to observe thinking as it's occurring. This teaches participants how to explore how they might have a different relationship to thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and impulses to act. While it was originally developed to prevent depression relapse, it has now been broadened to be used for depression treatment, anxiety treatment, and it also forms a component of many other physical and mental health interventions. If you are looking for their seminal book, it is Mindfulness-Based Cognitive Therapy for Depression. It is also very, very good. Even if you are, it is written for a practitioner. It is a guide to how to guide a mindfulness-based cognitive therapy group intervention. But even if you're not a practitioner, I think anyone who has an interest in depression would probably find it very interesting. It goes into a lot of detail about what happens in the brain and how the brain functions when it is depressed. And even with all of the education that I've had in depression and anxiety, I still found it enlightening, the perspective that they have on it. So I highly recommend that one as well. So how has mindfulness been used in healthcare? This is just sort of a sampling, some of the ones that I think are more interesting. It's been used to increase brain network integration for stress and emotional eating, as well as weight loss, smoking, stress, addictions, chronic pain, psoriasis, immunity, and depression and anxiety, the classics. So we're going to look at some of those in a little bit more detail now. And there we go. So mindfulness has been shown to be effective in numerous stress-related physical disorders, including chronic pain, immune system functioning, and other specific diseases. The theoretical and biological underpinnings of this effectiveness are that mindfulness teaches emotional regulation, which fosters stress resilience and coping under stress. These stress buffering effects, in turn, reduce the negative impacts that stress has on increasing risk for stress-related disease outcomes. I feel like they could have said that better with fewer stress words. So first, let's zoom in and look at psoriasis, because in my opinion, I think that's one of the most interesting physical health diseases that mindfulness has been used in. Overall, I would say there are mixed results. I went through a few of the more recent studies that have come out this past week in updating this presentation, but I found one promising study that investigated MBCT versus treatment as usual for psoriasis patients that had some pretty favorable outcomes. At various time points, the MBCT group had significant improvements in psoriasis symptoms, anxiety, depression, and well-being. So we're working all across that mind-body spectrum. So now let's look at immunity. There have been studies that used mindfulness and have shown that it decreases circulating markers of inflammation in several studies. It's also been shown to improve the health of HIV-positive patients. However, there are mixed results when it comes to vaccine response. So there's always more research occurring in these, and I look forward to finding more successes with this. Now let's look at mindfulness for mental health. Mindfulness is seen by some as a, quote, third wave in mental health treatment. Waves 1 and 2 would be behavioral and cognitive behavioral. The theoretical understanding behind the success of mindfulness in mental health treatment is that it teaches individuals to regulate the maladaptive thoughts, emotional responses, and automatic behaviors that underlie mental health problems. Randomized control trials have shown very promising evidence that mindfulness may be as effective as gold standard treatments such as medication and cognitive behavior therapy. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy has been proven very effective at both reducing depression and anxiety symptoms and at reducing the risk of relapse in depression and anxious individuals. There's also been success in treating veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of this research has occurred since 2012, so we're just beginning to investigate the effects of mindfulness-based treatments on depression and anxiety. Now let's take a look at addiction and addictive disorders. Mindfulness enables individuals to monitor the rise and fall of cravings to better cope with them. There's also some evidence that supports that mindfulness interventions may be more effective than CBT for smoking. Mindfulness-based relapse prevention, or MBRP, has been shown to be more effective than standard relapse prevention at 15 weeks post-intervention. And MBRP was just as effective as cognitive behavioral relapse prevention, and both were more effective than the standard 12-step program for relapse to heavy drinking. So there's some incredibly promising results in terms of addictive disorders. So what about healthy populations? Does mindfulness benefit an otherwise healthy individual? We can definitely say yes. Randomized control trial evidence supports that healthy individuals can benefit from mindfulness with sustained attention, working memory, and reducing rumination. And I don't know about you guys, but rumination, especially during the pandemic, has been the bane of my existence. Research is growing on the interpersonal effects of mindfulness, and practicing mindfulness may improve relational outcomes and increase pro-social behaviors. Probably another skill that most of us could use. There's also some evidence that it increases compassion towards self and others through metacognitive awareness and decentering mechanisms. So what is the future of mindfulness? We definitely need more randomized control trials in a non-clinic setting. That's most likely where these interventions will be occurring. So we really need to get out of the clinic and into the community. We also need more research spanning the life course. What does it look like if someone is practicing mindfulness for the long term? Are there exponential effects? Are the effects the same as if you're just practicing in the short term? We also, I would love to see more research on workplace and especially school-based mindfulness, and that ties into the next one below, looking for more research using these interventions with children. There is a lot of promising evidence out there that you can help children really be able to focus better, be able to regulate their emotions better, all the benefits of mindfulness. But when you learn it as a child, then you're much more likely to continue to apply those skills as you get older. So next, let's take a look at the Mindful Attention Awareness Scale. I will give you a little bit of background on this scale. It had factor analyses that were run with undergraduates, community and nationally sampled adults, and adult cancer populations. These all confirmed a single factor scale structure, which is very positive. That's what you want to see in a scale like this. The internal consistency or Cronbach's alphas generally range from 0.8 to 0.9, and those are great numbers. The MAS has demonstrated high test-retest reliability, discriminant and convergent validity, this is going to be rough, known groups validity, and criterion validity. So this is all great news. It's a scale that's measuring what we want it to measure. Correlational, quasi-experimental, and experimental studies have shown that the trait MAS taps a unique quality of consciousness that is related to and predictive of a variety of emotion regulation, behavior regulation, interpersonal, and well-being phenomena. So the scale measures what we would like for it to measure. It measures it well. It measures it over and over again, and it's a single factor. We are actually measuring one single component. Next, I would like for you guys to complete the scale. It's really brief. I tried to make a survey monkey to make this easier, and I couldn't make anything past 10 questions. So that's a bummer. The easiest way to do this is to probably get out your phone calculator and just type in the numbers as you go, and then run the mean. So divide it by 15 once you're done, and you will get your score. It will range from 1 to 6. So I'll give you guys a few minutes now. And if I can get some digital thumbs up once you guys are done, that would be great. Do you guys have your scores? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. Janet says yes, so I'm gonna, and Erica does. If both of the knots say yes, then I think we're good. So the scores obviously range from 1 to 6, with 6 being considered more mindful and 1 being considered less mindful. So there are not really any breakpoints in this or anything. We're not looking for a diagnosis. So it's just sort of an indicator of where you are now and kind of where you can improve. And you can see that as you go through the questions. If you're realizing that, no, you're not really present in the moment. Even if you're taking a walk or walking to your job or your class and you're completely oblivious to what's going around you, that's something that you can try to pay attention to a little bit more, be present in the moment, and appreciate what's happening. So, feel free to, take a screenshot of this and give yourself a little self-assessment every now and then if you'd like to see if you're improving. And next, there we go. Next, we're going to do a very introductory breathing exercise. So if you've never done mindful meditation before, that's okay. This will guide you through step by step the process. So I'm gonna turn off my camera momentarily so you guys aren't just staring at me. And then we'll listen to this exercise and then we will come back for questions after that. So try not to fall asleep. I know it's late. Okay, here we go.
We begin the breathing space by making a deliberate and definite change in posture. So, as best you can, establishing now a posture that embodies a sense of dignity and wakefulness, with the back erect but not stiff, dropping the shoulders, opening the chest, and if it's possible, it feels comfortable, closing the eyes. Step 1 of the breathing space is becoming aware, really aware of your experience in this moment. So, focusing your awareness inward and asking, what is my experience right now? What thoughts are here? As best you can, acknowledging thoughts as mental events, perhaps putting them into words. What feelings are here? Turning toward any sense of emotional discomfort or unpleasant feelings. Acknowledging whatever feelings you find. Here you are. That's how it is right now. And what body sensations are you aware of right now? Perhaps quickly scanning the body to pick up any sensations of tightness or bracing. So you've got a sense of what's going on right now. You've stepped out of automatic pilot. In step 2, you gather your awareness and bring it to a focus on the movements of the breath in the lower abdomen. So focusing attention now on the movements of the abdominal wall. Sensations of gentle stretching with each in-breath. Sensations of gentle deflation with each out-breath. As best you can, letting the awareness rest gently on the breath. Feeling the breath all the way in, feeling the breath all the way out. using the breathing itself to anchor you in the present moment. And whenever the mind wanders, gently bringing the attention back to the breath. And now, in step 3, expanding the field of awareness so that it includes a sense of the body as a whole, as well as the sensations of the breath, a sense of your posture, your facial expression, how your whole body feels. And if you become aware of any sensations of discomfort, tension, or resistance, experimenting with gently breathing into them on the in-breath, breathing out from them on the out-breath. Perhaps feeling a softening and releasing with each out-breath. And now, as best you can, bringing this expanded, more spacious awareness to the next moment of your day.
So, how was it? No, don't start again. That's not what I wanted you to do. Stop it! There we go. Okay. Do you guys have any questions?